You know, I think one of the hardest things when I make epic music is to make music that's big, music that's beautiful, but also music that has a clean profile to it. I want to say in previous iterations of cinematic hybrid epic instruments, there's been a tendency for them to always be a little bit baptized in reverb or distorted in particular, or people using compression a little too much, or multiband compression, or delays, or all of it together, but always using a lot of effects to sort of mask out the fact that you're trying to create something that's big, but ideally you want something that's big and clean as well. And that's really the premise of Terminus, and that's really where it stands apart from current generations of tools and cinematic instruments. I want to say it takes longer to create. We've spent about 18 months on creating this entire universe of super epic sounds, and to me it's one of those libraries that when we were done, we knew we had sample gold. And a part of that is because we have a variety of new sound banks in it. We're trying new techniques from strums and ear candy and many other things that I'm going to show you in this tutorial. But we also had a philosophy of creating 4 different core groups of articulations. We have drums and percussion, we have hybrid elements, and then we've got orchestral elements, and then we have synthesized elements. And the reason for that, and these are all somewhat symmetrical, but the reason for that is that the trend in hybrid epic scoring, particularly on the AAA and professional scene, is leaning more towards synthetic content the last couple of years. Sometimes synthetic can mean full-on synth, sometimes it means hybrid, sometimes it means using orchestral elements and synthesizing them. So that's really the idea with Terminus, that you have these different core elements that we always play around with in epic music, but try to find the right balance and have something that's clean and just works totally out of the box. We also have this cool little 4K masterclass where I'm dissecting the demo that I wrote for Terminus called The Captain. That comes with the library, and I think it's like an hour of content. I also added the MIDI file and the stems, so if you really want to dissect the demo and see everything going on from every single track, it actually comes with the Terminus library, so if you want to take a look at that. Maybe that would be a good way actually to start this whole video here. Why don't I play the demo called The Captain, which heavily features Terminus and is purely made with 8Dio libraries, and then after that we'll start the tutorial. I have a variety of small mini demos that are really gonna show all the different aspects of Terminus and all its super cool colors and the 4 core banks and how they can operate together. It's a good example of one of those libraries that's born out of our own needs and really try to partially create new sounds to guide the market in a new direction, but partially also to set a new level of what we think that hybrid and cinematic content should sound like. But instead of me talking, let's dive into the DAW, let's have some crazy fun with some mini demos. Let me start by playing The Captain first, and then we'll get into the tutorial afterwards. And do forgive me, this video might be a little bit long. There's a lot to talk about, there's a lot to show and listen to. This is just one of those libraries. All right, let's get into Terminus. If you look here, you got all our 7 core drum banks. So you got hits, slams, subhits, short falls, long falls, short risers, and long risers. And if you look over here in our orchestral banks, we have exactly the same. And let's just get the engine started here. In this little mini demo, I got the drums loaded doing short risers, and then I have the drums loaded with the subhits. And then I got a little bit of Equinox running in the background for hi-hats. And let me just highlight the 2 different banks from Terminus down here. Terminus is just all about that clean, big blockbuster production sound. When you hear that sort of taiko riser in the beginning, it's super clean. It just sits in the mix. And then you got all these subhits down here that are just lying and doing all their sort of fundamental rhythmic work together with the hi-hats from Equinox. Let me just show the riser here on his own. Let me try to trigger another couple of the short risers here from our drums bank. And it's just a little bit of a tampering element in that very sort of last part. All there to just, add character. It can also be like softer type of rises. Or maybe more ambient type. Or maybe one that really's got some guts. Whatever type of short riser you might desire just in the realm of drums is here. You're going to find equivalent in orchestral and hybrid and synthesized patches. We're going to get into that as well. But let me try to go back to the demo here and just play the track we had before, and this time use a couple of extra things here. We have another beautiful library called 66 Trombones coming out soon, and I thought it could be kind of cool to see what happens if we mix Terminus together with our 66 trombone sustains and super slow legato. This is a new type of legato sound we're developing. And you can even hear on that very last end where the track is ending that there's no reverb here. The hybrid elements are not full of distorted elements and reverbs, and a lot of the muddiness you'll find in the sort of older style of hybrid libraries. This is super modern and with a very dedicated focus to just having clean sounds that are not manipulated outside the realm of what would sound just awesome and acoustically appealing. Also, let me try to isolate the subhits in Terminus here so you can listen to them on their own. Let me just isolate the Terminus subhits and short risers and combine them with the Equinox hi-hats. And all combined. this next one, I'm going to use one of the long risers, also from the drums category, and then combine it with the short falls from our synth category. Let's see what they sound like, and again, together with a little bit of hi-hats coming from our new Equinox library as well. And Terminus is just so much about the love for that individual sound. Let me just play a single riser here. And that's just the result of hours and hours just to create a sound like that. The amount of layering and EQing and multiband compression, everything going into creating a sound like that is staggering, and it's just a joy. In this demo, I actually reversed the same sound. I love that sort of nervous sound that culminates in that big giant oak tree just falling to the ground like slam. It's just a cool mixture. Check out these synthesized shortfalls. Where these are small, you're going to find the long version almost more like a nuclear alarm rate, massive foghorn kind of sound in the long falls here. And it just continues and continues down. There's a lot of cool ones. So cool how they're forming a chord, disturbing chord. That's cool. And let's spice it up with the 66 trombones as well. I just love these like super cinematic sub-hits on the drums here. They just have that super trailer definitive, like this is the way it is kind of sound. And in this one, I'm also using two different patches, both sustains and arcs from our 66 trombones. All right, let's try another demo using our hybrid bangs hits together with our hybrid bangs slams. So this is a mixture between realistic elements and sound designs that are somewhat in the hybrid realm. and you had a synth-based long riser towards the end of the piece. Check these out. You can almost like create a rhythm with them. All the hybrid slams have a little bit of a crescendo going into them. You can use the offset to get rid of it if you don't want it, but they're super cool. Check them out. Like something like that. Check it out. Like it has that little swoop in the beginning, the crescendo, and then the impact, and then like a nice downer in the end. One cool thing about Terminus, maybe more so than any library we've ever created in the cinematic domain, is the diversity in sound. You're not going to find a lot of things that sound the same. Everything has identity, everything is super unique. It's a lot more fun to have 50, 60 long risers in front of you if they're all very different in their texture. Check it out. Let's throw in the Century Ostinato. These are super cool. There's some unique tricks in terms of how you can get them really to work great with hybrid music. I'm covering that in the Captain demo, which is a part of Terminus as well. There's some unique production tricks that I'm revealing in that one too, but check them out. And I know it's got nothing to do with this video demonstration, but the Century Ostinatos, once you figure out the secret tricks in terms of really getting them to work, they're completely playable and you can do anything you want, and they just sound super real because you can crossfade between dynamics as the phrases are playing as well. Like, great tool. One of my top 3 favorite parts of Terminus is our orchestral long falls. Let me just trigger a groove here with Equinox first, and then so you can hear that standalone, and then I'll play the groove again using our long falls here. Just check it out. Aren't they cool? Essentially, we took a variety of orchestral instruments and different recordings, both custom and commercial, and mixed them together, create these long, almost imagine like a super maccato, just lasting for like 30, 40 seconds and fully playable, but with all the instruments in constant motion, constant movement in the individual instruments, and you can just hold down one key. Everything you heard right now is just a one key drone, if you will. Let me just trigger a couple of them here individually so you can hear them. They're long, so I'll just play it maybe 10, 15 seconds. And keep an eye down here on the keyboard as I'm triggering them. It's just one of those easy, gratifying things. They work, and it takes hours away from you having to sit and layer and all that. They just work so perfectly as fat, drony, dramatic, dark type of underbeds. But Terminus is not just about hits and slams and subhits and the usual suspects in the cinematic world. We also created a variety of new categories. Some of them are called ear candy, and some of them are called strums. And the premise is really, when you create things that are big and epic and clean, they should also be beautiful sometimes. It's been dark for so many years. The world can only take so many mega horns and slams. It's cool to steer in the other direction and focus on epic beauty, if you will. Let me play a little demo here using a preset from our synth bank, triggering our Ear Candy 2. Another one here also from synths, triggering long falls. And then a little addition with our orchestral long falls, one of my favorite banks. Part of it was using our synth long falls. And part of it was using these awesome ear candies here. Let me just try to demonstrate a couple of samples from each of the banks that really venture somewhere between beautiful and just awesome, cool, contemporary trailer sound. So super ambient things like just these gorgeous ambient textures. And it can also be dark and just badass and really with a fat motion picturesque super analog bass on the bottom. Check this out. And they can also almost just write a theme of their own. Let me just trigger 2 samples. Or what I like to call transitional boomers. These are just great for accentuating parts in your music. Or they can be anything from snappy EDM drums to like strange pianos. But let me try to trigger the track again, and this time I'm gonna add a little bit of homemade footage to it just to make it a little more dramatic and perhaps contextually fitting. Let me play one last mini demo here, which is more in the sort of beautiful ethereal realm, and it's using our new strums as well. So whereas Ear Candy is sort of epic, big, beautiful, the strums are designed to be these ethereal harp, guitar, piano-like textures that sort of explodes in tonality. They're super awesome for transitional elements and to create this starburst of positivity in your composition. For example, this is one of the bonus presets called Just Relax, using Strums 2 and adding a graceful amount of reverb. Let me just shut it off so you can hear without. So dozens and dozens of these very diverse, ethereal, granular textures. They're not easy to make because we use acoustic instruments to generate most of them, and then we granulize it and treat it very, very delicately. But they sit so well in the composition just to create these sort of beautiful colors on top of your composition. And the journey into Terminus could go on and on and on. I hope this video has shown you a little bit of what the library is capable of. We also have a variety of demos. And again, for anyone who's interested in purchasing the library, you're also going to get my Captain demo with a 4K masterclass and all the stems and MIDI and all that stuff. It's just important for us to be transparent and try to give you guys the greatest insight possible into how the products work and all the unique colors and aspects. Obviously, there's way too many sounds for me to go through each and every one of them, but I hope the video has given you a little bit of an inspirational glimpse into the world of Terminus and its upcoming twin sister Equinox as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.